Welcome back, YouTube. We're here on Sunday the 5th, October 1997. The ECW save is in effect and going pretty strong. We're almost into 98. So, in last video, we seen some things. And what we found, and, we got Cactus Jack signed. And we've also got to wait for Edge. He's an injury. He has a mean injury, it says. But yeah. Let's continue. Okay, we see Jimmy Snuka and Jeff Jarrett step into the ring together. Jeff Jarrett wins for 78. Then, Chris Jericho versus Lance Storm gets 73. Oh, our first 5-star match. Not bad. Rob Van Dam and Hack Myers win it. Rob Van Dam held his television title. Terry Gordy wins 69. Okay. Not bad. In real life, I don't like Jimmy Snuka. Don't like Jimmy Snuka whatsoever. I'll continue. Okay, we see Bill Goldberg beat Adam Pearce in 3 minutes for a 51. Then Batista and New Jack engage in a brawl backstage, and it says that it got pretty good. Let's see. Taz versus Steve Armstrong. Taz won for a 60. Rhino defeated Shannon Moore for a 52. Bound Bound Bigelow cuts a promo. Dave Finlay versus Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho wins, but the match gets 4.5 stars for a 73. Rob Van Dam successfully retained his ECW television title against Tonka in the main event for a 73. Not bad. Okay. So, I traded a new hire for Randy Savage for just a short while. Now, the way that the saying goes is that when you trade somebody, you get their contract all together. But I'm only wanting them for a month and a half. So, when it happens, it won't be bad. So, let's go into it. Okay, so Boom Boom Bigelow starts off the show with a win for 77, not bad. Rob Van Dam starts off successfully retaining his ECW television title. Then we see Randy Savage say anyone in the back come out and anyone in the back come out and have a match. So Paul White comes out, in which it gets an 83. And then Terry Gordy defeated Raven for a 74. These are two new rivalries. I'm about to fire Randy Savage, I think. Okay, so we start the show off with Rhino defeating Randy Savage. That's right, this is how I'm going to do Randy Savage. I'm sorry, but this is how I'm doing Randy Savage. Paul White versus Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho wins for a 1.1 popularity increase. And then Christian Cage defeats D'Lo Brown for a 59. Rob Van Dam defeated Slick Wagner Brown for a 60. And then backstage we see Raven attack Terry Gordy with the help of James Mitchell as he's his manager. Okay, the Sandman defeated Taz in our first match tonight. Paul White defeated Mike Awesome for an 88. And then Raven called out Terry Gordy. Got a 71. And then Rob Van Dam defeated Nick Dinsmore to hold his title even longer. Terry Gordy defeated Randy Savage. The match got a 92. The match quality was an 87. Yep, that's right. I'm about to let Randy Savage go back to USWA. Okay, Rob Van Dam enters the arena as the ECW television champion, and he walks out television champion. He beat one of the most unstoppable men in this promotion, one of the most dominant wrestlers in this promotion. He beat him. Jerry Lawler versus Tatanka, or Jerry Lawler and Tatanka engaged in a brawl. Then Paul White versus the Sandman. Paul White won for an 80, not bad. Boom Boom Bigelow versus Jimmy Snuka. Boom Boom Bigelow wins for a 78, keeping the title. And then the Extreme Revolution took on Chris Jericho, Christian Cage, and D'Lo Brown. For a 64, Chris Jericho won. And then the Dudley Boys win back the ECW World Tag Team Championships for a 51, not bad. Bill Goldberg defeated Randy Savage for an 83. And then for a 77, Terry Gordy beat Raven. Not bad. Okay, instead of quitting it here, calling it a day, we're going to take and go to Holiday Hill. Let's go. Okay, we start to show off with Chris Jericho defeating Lance Storm in a technical match for a 74. 4.5 stars it says it got. Oh no. We'll keep the title. He may only be out for a few days. Bill Goldberg's entrance, 95%. Bill Goldberg wins. Okay, so Bill Goldberg wins. Dory Funk defeated Dave Finlay for a 65. And then we open the main event with Terry Gordy versus Cactus Jack. Cactus Jack wins for an 88. Not bad. Okay. We see Bubba Ray Dudley and Devon Dudley defend their titles against Shannon Moore and Ron Killings for 58. Tully Blanchard versus Tatanka is our second match of the night. Tatanka wins for a 74. Christian Cage beats Chris Chetty. He's celebrating, but Edge spears him out of nowhere and is just attacking him. And Kevin Lawler, Tony Falk, and King Cobra pull Edge away from Christian Cage, and Christian Cage gets medical attention. Bam Bam Bigelow versus Chris Jericho. Bam Bam Bigelow wins for 4.5 stars. Final score is an 84. Yeah, that was a good match. Ooh. Ooh. We'll end the show here. Okay, so we start the show off with Jerry Lawler versus. I don't think it's actually Tatanka. I've always called him Tatanka, but I think it's Tatanka for 76. Raven and Batista versus Terry Gordy and Cactus Jack at 78. And this was meant to hype up the match of Raven versus Terry Gordy. We'll just say it here. They're going to have a ladder match. Bill Goldberg beat Chris Jedi in 3 minutes for a 49. Then Chris Jericho beat David Finlay for a 69. Then the main event was Bam Bam Bigelow versus Jimmy Snuka, 75. Bam Bam Bigelow successfully retained the TSWA World Championship. 0.1 popularity increase. We'll set a challenge for him. Raise their arm. Public praise for Raven. Public praise for Batista. Gordy. James Mitchell. It's not bad. Okay, so Cactus Jack versus Tully Blanchard gets an 87. And then we see Rhino versus Goldberg. Rhino injured. Uh-oh. You done did it again, Goldberg. Terry Gordy versus Raven. Terry Gordy wins for a 74. And then Rob Van Dam and Sabu has a match right here for a 70. Not bad. Okay. Okay, the Dudley Boys successfully retain the ECW World Tag Team titles and bring back the Small Wrestling Alliance Tag Team titles for 62. And then Edge defeated Christian Cage in a 2 out of 3 falls for a 71. Chris Jericho beat Scott Norton for a 68. Bill Goldberg beat Brian Lee for 52. It gained him 0.3 popularity. And he actually has a new character. Bam Bam Bigelow defeated Jimmy Snuka to retain the TSWA World Championship for 77. And Rob Van Dam successfully retains the ECW Television Championship for an 80. And then Terry Gordy and Raven had a great match. Terry Gordy successfully retains for a 74. Okay, now RVD gets emotional. It says, Terry Gordy, you have a reputation as well. How do you handle who are too popular? How important is the tag team division to your overall product? Okay. You said you're not rushing Shane Douglas's return, but history with this company. Take one last question. Okay, not bad. Okay, that's it for today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, your family. The most important of all, though, share it with your dog.